holding together, holding together will affect, for instance, the dynastic existing political clan within the region, because they may talk with each other na ito pare, kaya i-separate natin, tapos we will distribute the powers when we are there, then we will control this particular territory or region. So how will it will play out? We will be empowering the dynasty already existing.
Okay, I have a very good answer for that. So I've studied this in a great amount of detail, and I found that, number one, and several of my colleagues at sa PDP Laban Federalism Study Group, some of whom you've met, we did studies on this, and we found that, number one, there are no dynasties at the regional level. The dynasties only exist at the LGU or at highest level at the provincial level. That is precisely why we need to consolidate the provinces into regions. The reason for doing so is that this will cancel out the various dynasties. The dynasties will have to fight it out, and they will no longer be able to fight it out under a pasikatan system of the presidential system, dahil magkakaroon tayo ng bagong sistema, which is the parliamentary system, na hindi na ngayon pangalan ng tao ang batayan ng pagkapanalo, kundi partido at plataforma. Under this system, ipa-parliamentary natin, not just the national level and not just the federal level, kundi kasama na rin ang mga regions. Dahil ipa-parliamentary natin ang mga regions, mahihirapan ang mga dynasty na maging dynasty, na mag-continue sa pagiging dynasty kung sila hindi naman magagaling. Sa totoo lang po, ang dynasty po hindi naman talaga masama. Sa totoo lang. Ang masama, actually, are bad politicians.
Okay,
so if we have a system, like the parliamentary system, that can weed out bad politicians, and let's say, nagkataon na hindi naman ganun karaming mga taong sumasali sa politika, and if ever there are people who do join politics, they come from the same family, pero mababait at magagaling naman sila, at nawi-weed out lahat ng mga walang kwenta, that is acceptable. That is okay.
Okay po.
When the economic dynamics of the country changes, of the regions, when they change, when all these investors come in, dumami ang mga kumpanya, dumami ang mga opisina, mga pabrika, dumami ang mga trabaho, ang mga tao ay hindi na maghihingi lagi. Ang mangyayari sa kanila, they will no longer be dependent on dynasties.
Ryan, we have a comment
yes, go ahead.
here. We have a comment here.
Okay, bago
Sure.
po iyan yung next question ko, kasi merong particular yung kaya ko unang tinanong niyo, because there's existing facts, I would like to example yung farm, yung farm now, and I think we are all aware of that, na nagsama-sama, nag-alay yung lahat ng governors doon, against the existing, this extension, and I think mangyayari ito na election ng farm by 2025. My prediction is that this governor will ally in order to get the chief minister, and I think they can do that and they can distribute the powers. Actually, they are now very solid sila, yung mga ibang politician doon hindi magkakasama at nagsama-sama because of that. Merong parliament this region, we are talking about, they are different families, but they have one common goal. The common goal is to wrest the power of governance in BARM in 2025, and I think they can do that, and they are very capable because they control the provinces. So yun yung
Okay.
Ang tanong ko po,
That's why I think, ang mangyayari, kasi right now what's happening is we have separate structures for the provinces and the region. Currently, there is a... There's a
Go
ahead.
Yeah, Orion, let attorney has more comments.
Sige, go ahead.
Say ko na lang kasi may flight po ako mamaya.
He has to leave soon.
Yung ang pangalawang tanong ko po at tatlo na ako para makapagtanong sila mamaya para isang anuan na lang, isang anuan na lang ano. Ilan po yung parliamentaries at saka presidential sa buong mundo and how were they able to i-template natin yung system. Pangalawa po ay doon po sa Australia, Canada, India, Malaysia, Spain, they both have, meron silang actually lower house and upper house. But in the lower walang upper house Bicameral sila lahat pati sa UK bicameral. Pero dito sa proposal natin unicameral. So yun po yung itatanong ko pang isa. And then pinaka-last na po ay yung intergovernmental at saka intragovernmental relationship noong different yung territory, yung sinabi nyo kanina, autonomous territory. Kasi po, kunyari po yung ba, ang nakalagay doon autonomous, special autonomy ba yun, yung sa kanila? What are the power sections? Under ba sila sa isang subnational or tingnan ko yung autonomous subnational unit, under po ba sila sa dependent subnational unit o sa national po? Yun yung
Okay.
So,
sa ngayon kasi, based yung main natin is yung economic self-sufficiency, no? So based on economic self-sufficiency, BARM is still considered dependent. However, because of the special cultural concerns, they are provided a higher level of autonomy. Kaya nga dito po sa dito po sila sa right side ang BARM, no? It's not towards the left side, it's towards the right side. So it's almost already a federated region. Parang it's already at that state na parang at that status na parang mataas na yung level of autonomy niya, kahit na ba tumatanggap pa rin siya ng financial, economic help galing sa national. So, in terms of economics, yes, it is dependent, but it is more autonomous. It's considered a stronger region because of its special situation. No? So yun yung main difference niya. It will become further strengthened the moment it becomes economically viable.
Ito si Atty.
Yun yung magiging federated state, federated region na siya. May tanong po kayo, attorney, yung how many are the parliamentary, and could you repeat that question?
Yung parliamentaries at saka presidential na nag-exist ngayon sa mundo. Ilang po yung presidential at saka parliamentary, presidential ba yung federal ba? Yun po, yung parliamentary po at saka presidential yung statistics lang po sa buong mundo between the two systems.
Ano po yung tanong ninyo doon?
Ilan pong government sa buong mundo ang nag-a-adapt ng parliamentary at saka presidential?
Well, actually, ang lumalabas po, marami sa mga bansang gumagamit ng parliamentary, ay yun yung mga nagiging more progressive. There are many countries na gumamit ng presidential. Unfortunately, lalo na sa Latin America at sa Africa, dahil akala nila, nung time na yun, noong mga 1960s, 1970s, nung malakas ang USA after World War II, dahil sa sikat ng USA, ang dami ang mga bansa na nag-presidential sila kasi akala nila, uy, maganda ang USA, mayaman sila, naka-presidential sila, gayahin natin. Pero nung ginaya nila, pumalpak sila lalo. Ito yung maraming mga bansa sa Africa and even Asia. Pero pag pinag-usapan natin ang mga resulta, kung gumawa po tayo ng, let's say, GDP per capita, magkano tayo? GDP per capita. Ano yung pinakamayamang mga bansa according to GDP per capita? majority po ng nasa top 30 are parliamentary. Doon po sa mga pinakamahirap, majority po sa kanila ay naka-presidential. Ganon din po pag titingnan natin yung corruption levels. Sa Transparency International corruption levels, makikita natin, when we look at the, tawag nito, yung mga bansang gumagamit ng parliamentary, majority of them are at the top in terms of least corrupt, being least corrupt. Whereas those that are most corrupt, majority, you'll find them in the, among the gumagamit ng presidential. So, meron na talagang studies on this, no? So, mas maganda talagang gumamit tayo ng parliamentary based on best practices, based on what we know works, based on what are the recommendations of mismong mga profesor na nasa USA, na they're all spelling the doom of the USA because of their presidential system. Ayun po, I hope this helps, this part helps. Ano po yung isa po ninyong tanong, attorney?
Ako follow-up question lang ako. Doon kay Attorney Algamar, when he asked about the territories that will be covered. I remember the initial draft na draft ng group that was passed by Senator Roby. We have identified the territories there. Now you're saying that from your suggestion that we can actually omit that for a later, say there will be a separate act on that. Don't you think it would be better that if you will identify already and put in the draft these territories that will be covered? Don't you think it would be better that way to make the process also faster and easier? Anyway, it will still be subjected to consultations. It will still be subjected to soliciting suggestions during committee hearings. Don't you think it would be better, or do you suggest that we don't put the territories yet in the draft?
I can answer that, Orion, if you want.
Yeah, my answer for that is I think it would really be better if we pursue the bottom-up version of what was originally in the 2005 system. Yung sinasabi nilang let the provinces join together based on what they know, what are their own similarities. So, kasi parang ang reason bakit ko naisip na gano'n, because right now, if we impose na parang sa tingin natin, we have to force what are the current regions that we have, yun na yung magiging regions natin. Or if we say, we will make a region na, sige, Luzon, Visayas, ganyan. Posibleng yung mga member, yung mga tao doon, sasabihin nila, hindi, pero gusto namin na, we want to have our own region na based on our more compact similarities. Ganyan, parang ayaw namin na sinasama kami sa sobrang daming tao na hindi naman kami pare-pareho lahat. Ganyan. There might be these kinds of objections from on the ground, no? And so, rather than opening it up to that kind of criticism, perhaps if we open it up to say, kayo na ang bahala, you decide on your own what you think. And since currently they already do have their regions, most likely they will by default join together according to these regions. The part that might be contentious is, for example, yung sa Negros. Gusto ba nila na manatili sila dun sa current status quo nila where Negros Occidental is part of Panay, is considered part of Panay, kasama sa Panay Island, and Negros Oriental is considered part of Cebu and Bohol, or Negros Occidental and Negros Oriental will be joined together in a new region, the Negros Island region. Ano ba talaga? So, if we actually do it this way, the way the 2005 draft was done, it will allow them to make those decisions themselves. So I think that's going to be, it will appear more democratic. It will be more parang kusang loob nilang dinicide na magsasama-sama sila according to kung ano yung mga nakikita nilang similarities and the synergies that they have. This has already been done in Spain, and in Spain they have a very similar structure to us in the Philippines. So I'm pretty sure it will have a very similar result as well.
Okay, can I add to that? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if we could please bring up my document. Pero before that, baka gusto niyo lang kumain. I don't want to keep you from your could be, or eat while working lunch. Okay. So please don't let me. So actually, what I've done here is for Ryan so there.
Yes po.
Actually, if we can go straight up to page 4 first. Page 4. Yung table. So, kailangan natin pag-isipan kasi, what will the question be at the referendum? So, kasi, that's the end goal. If we say, combining natin yung federal party as one issue and economic as separate, there will be two questions. If you split federal and party, question 1 would be, do you want to adopt federalism? Question 2.
Doy, pwede pakilakas daw.
You can't hear me? Sorry.
Speak loud.
So it's about the referendum. The referendum. So what I've done is drafted the question, and because you have to draft the amendment based on what the proposition is. Right? So the proposition, political provisions, is to switch to federal party. Attorney, if we can
Teka lang po.
yes, setting it up.
Ano po?
The regional aspect of it. The end goal is you want federated regions. Now the question is, how do we get there? So under this, if the goal is to create federated regions, how do we get there? From where we are now, which is may mga region na. So under this proposal, so are you in favor of constitutional amendments to shift the country system of government to federal party? Dito nakafuse yung dalawa. But if you can go up to page 3. Yeah, can we enlarge it? So if we tackle them as separate questions, yun yung mga articles na that need to be amended. That is if you're not going to revise the entire constitution. Because that would take longer and you probably need a convention to do that. But if it's going to be passed as a regular piece of legislation, yun lang yung voting threshold is higher, 3/4. These are the ones that you need to target. And if those are the ones that you will be targeting, the questions below are the ones we need to answer or tackle in committee hearings. Those are the choice options, kumbaga. Now, when you draft the amendments, you have to draft it in such a way that kung mapasa yung isang question, yung isa hindi. They still have to hang together. So the cleanest way of doing that is do the economic provisions because they don't really impact yung political. That can be a separate question. Are you in favor of these, and you can actually separate out each sector. Oo, hindi, oo, hindi, oo. You have several questions in the referendum. In the political, you have to draft it in such a way na, so if you fuse them, then wala ka ng problema. Kasi iisa lang yung proposition mo eh. Federal Parliament. Pero kung i-split natin, the only difference under federalism is A, magkaka-bicam ka ba so that the regions have regional representation. Pangalawa yung judicial setup. Kakailanganin mo ng regional court system under the regional governments. Doon papasok yung Sharia law and you'll have your own judicial system under that. So kaya yung legislative Article 6, yung magkikreate ka ng regional representatives who will become the upper house, kunwari. Yun naman kung ayaw mo ng federalism, it's pointless to create. Unicam ka na nga. Pero kung mag-federate ka, you need, because the lower house represents the national. That's the misconception. They think it's district. But under the mixed member proportional, whatever the vote is nationally, you distribute the seats in the lower house proportionately to the national vote. So actually the house represents the national constituency. The upper house, ironically, will represent the regional constituencies. So yun yung kaibahan, ano? And then finally, yung Article 10, local government, yun yung madugo kung sa ano. Now, to simplify matters, you can now go down to page 20, learning. So these are, sorry. Sa, dito, I've adopted Orion's nomenclature in the sense that meron tinatawag na regional territories throughout the country will be created based on existing regional groupings and the special autonomous regions in Muslim Mindanao and Padilla. So we don't disturb that. We go to the next page. Dito. So what will happen is we will recognize the region as a political subdivision. And so what that means is you can create a regional government code to cover the autonomy of the regions. So pag pinasa yung referendum, the next step is to, so meaning to say, i-recognize na yung region na. And then, the last stage is the federated region part. Now, under this proposal, it says that Congress will create a Federation Act which will govern how the regions will create their own charters, how they will demarcate their geographical boundaries. But the default initially will be the existing regions. But then they can decide, okay, some provinces might want to go away from, as Orion said, form their own regions. So the Federation Act will govern how that will work. The reason why it's better not to create the regions, but instead say that there will be a Federation Act that will be mirrored at the regional level by regional charters. It is for self-determination. Then, gets niya?
Nag-gets ko na yung bakit evolving. Yeah,
So this is the evolving part. You go from autonomy, which is what we have now at the LG level, but you expand that to the regions, step one. Step two, within the framework, there will be a Federation Act. And that will govern how. Now, why? Because it's easier to pass All you need is 51% votes. Because it's not the Constitution you're voting on. It will be Congress. So by delegating it to Congress, you give yourself a lower threshold to reach. So pagdidebatehan na sa Congress. But meanwhile, may local and regional autonomy na. Congress will have to create a regional government code as well. So this is why it's evolving. So if, let's say, I have a timetable on after this, there's a table. Also the economic. Keep going, keep going.
Ay, hindi po ba yun?
Yeah, that's one. That's one. So ito lang, schematics, ano? From now till next year, let's say, the committees will go through the proposed amendments, discuss, so that by next year, sinabi nila, hindi ka priority ka. So talakayin nila muna sa committee. But the ultimate goal is by 2023, magkaroon na ng joint session, consolidated na yung resolutions, both houses agree to sit. And yun nga, may de facto rule na tayo eh. Kasi sa martial law, pagamat sinabi sa Constitution, voting separately, jointly, ang nangyari, they voted separately. So, in effect, nagkaroon ng de facto rule na hiwalay sila boboto. So that could be, actually that could be one of the first hurdles you need to jump over to get to 2023. Both houses need to, just as they agreed in martial law, how they would vote on the extension of martial law. And they did. So we precedent a time, it has been done. 23 to 24, amendments will be tackled by the joint session. Now, the Constitution says, any amendment needs to be put to a plebiscite not earlier than 60 days, nor no later than 90 days. Meaning to say, kung itatapat natin sa yung referendum sa midterm elections ng 2025, kailangan ipasa na yung amendment by February or March of 2025 kung isasabay mo. Otherwise, the 60 to 90 day rule, you need a special election referendum set. Because that's what the Constitution mandates. So let us say, umabot tayo ng 2025, referendum on the proposition to adopt federal party economic provisions. Yes, no, it's no. Kunwari na, ipasa na. Congress, hindi ka automatically, the goal would be that this will happen in 2028, the first parliamentary elections. Kasi, kaka-elect lang ng Kongreso eh. 2025. So, alam naman, bubuwagin mo or, di ba? That gives you time to enact the enabling legislation for proportional voting. Yun, hindi mo isusulat sa Constitution. To be as provided by law. Yung how to get to, yung regional, where am I? Yun. 2025 to 2027, pieces of legislation that says proportional system, mode of electing and rotating senators, regional government code for the autonomous regional territories. These are for the regions outside BARM and CAR because under this nomenclature, you have your own legislation already, so it doesn't need to touch you. Or it doesn't need to conflict with you. It will just be additional provisions that give you greater clarity. And then the Federation Act needs to be enacted. And then what will, because this is how Australia did it. They had a Federation Act that pulled all the existing colonies together. And then the colonies created their own charters after. But they were already existing. So the Federation Act said we are federating. But then the enactment of each region or state happened later. So that means May to June, caretaker period for the parliamentary system to be introduced. Provincial boards, councils will currently serve in regional assemblies by 2020 to 27 yun. Come February 2028, election na. So ito na, transitioning into parliamentary. The election of the provincial boards and city councilors will serve concurrently with the regional assemblies that will elect their senators later. And then 28 to 30 regional assemblies are empowered by the past amendments to enact the regional charters in line with the Federation Act that was passed earlier, 25 to 27. And then regional plebiscites in 2030 to ratify their charters. 2031, may mga nagfe-federate na yun. Now, if some regions don't finalize the regional charters by that time, autonomous regional territories pa rin sila under the regional government code. But if they do pass their charters, federated region na sila. So yun yung proseso. It's a 10-year project yung pinapasukan yung Senador.
Bilis mo nga yan.
Oo nga. Na-abbreviate lang dahil dun sa pag-plebiscite sa 20...
Yan yung pag walang kumontra kasi.
Oo.
Hindi kailangan ng on.
Hindi na. Kasi...
May tanong lang ako. Dapat ano din yung ating mga legislator. Ang gusto niyo po, ang gusto natin, siyempre, yung tatlong prioridad natin. Foreign direct investment, involving federalism, parliamentary. Opo. Magagawa ba yun ng isang akbangan? Di ba? Isang revision o isang amendment? Ano ba yan? Papalitan natin yung 1987. So revision, di ba? Kung isa lang, amendment yun.
Pwede naman pong package of amendments.
Pwede siyang package of amendment.
Pero po, not in the sense na federalism.
Kasi you will be changing yung structure.
Concon or con-as po. Ang amendments po, ang example po nung yung kay Congressman Gurney before po na yung otherwise provided by law na nilalagay niya sa economic provisions. Yun po yung pwede via amendment. But if we're gonna
yung
change...
FDI, di ba?
Opo. But if we're gonna change the actual system of government...
Revision yun.
Revision.
Yun yung ibig kong sabihin.
Bakit dyan natin si Attorney?
Sige po.
The two ways. Kasi kung bagong constitution, then you have to go from the most acceptable is one.
At practical,
Pero sabi mo mga 30 years,
Maabot na mga 12 to 13 years.
12 to 13 years.
Kasi
And nothing will happen until the end of the quantum.
there are two ways to create a con.
Con, di ba? One is Congress just says, okay, we want a con. That is, I think, 2/3.
Two-thirds.
The other one is put it to a plebiscite.
si practical also.
That do the people want a con? So that will add another step time and money, time and effort. So and once you go to a con, hindi mo na kontrolado yung agenda.
And delegates.
Open na yan. Not necessarily yung mga gusto natin ang itatalakayan. Pwedeng
Pwede nga tanggalin yung Sinado yan.
maaring retain yung presidential kasi it's up to the convention to decide what they want, how they want to draft it. Completely new. So yung shortest possible route which assures you na yung mga gusto nyong, yung 3-point agenda na gusto nyong mangyari is hawak nyo yung gavel, you're the chair of the committee, you can decide which amendments the committee will endorse to the joint session.
We can use even the change of government system.
And that can be.
Possibly.
So, under the package that I've
Ang i-introduce natin ba? Amendment o division na?
well, kung ayaw nyo ng con-con, then series of amendments.
Series.
Pero po, yung, opo, na
Ano yung
nakatema,
uunahin natin? Ano yung uunahin natin? Dahil series eh. FBI siguro.
Actually, okay. So, siguro, pasok lang ako. Alala ko kasi nga, nagkaroon ng issue dati because there was that third mode eh. The third mode was the People's Initiative. Yung People's Initiative, hanggang amendment lang siya pwede.
Yes.
And yun yung sinasabi dati sa Supreme Court na ay hindi pwedeng baguhin yung form ng government using an amendment. And therefore, hindi kaya ng People's Initiative yung pabaguhin yung form ng government. Pero ang sabi ng marami is, ang revision is pwedeng gawin using Constituent Assembly or Constitutional Convention. So both these two modes are actually available. That's what I understand, no? And the Constituent Assembly is really nothing but a normal legislative process using a higher threshold of 3/4 on both houses plus a plebiscite. Yun nga lang, it will be a package of amendments. Meaning to say, hindi lang siya isa-isa, konti-konti. It will be a set of amendments. Our revision, basically, if I'm not mistaken, should be considered to be several amendments being done at the same time. Yan yung revision,
Yes,
which
sir.
includes changing the form of government.
Tama po.
but the question put to the people in a referendum, do you agree with the amendments, plural, being proposed that will shift the country to a federal parliamentary system? Isang tanong lang. Pero maraming kaakibat na amendment yan. Bakit?
Baka maging question na po. Kasi
You know,
not actually a price of what is being amended but being included. Kaya na magiging isang problema. Baka magkaroon ng problema.
Pero ganun din naman when you revise the entire constitution and take it up or down, yes or no, to all of the provisions of the constitution.
Yes po, but
You have to show them kung what is being
Yes, that's why I've created the table, annotated table pa nga, which shows you the amendments and the reasons for it on the side.
Ang nakapansin ko rito, it is a referendum question. It is not the ratification of the Constitution, proposed Constitution. So, para
So you're referring to
But we
not
know
ratification of the Constitution.
referendum po.
No.
You're referring to not
A referendum
that question will be thrown to who?
to the people.
To the people.
It's a ratification. Ratification na ba? Upon amendment o hindi?
Of-
Ayun, just asking them.
Asking them.
Una, we cannot do that. Paano natin gagawin yun?
The amendment.
Usually po kasi ang referendum is
Meron ng amendment.
meron ng law na tatanggihan ng tao or meron silang ipopropose through
There
initiative.
must be a proposal already of amendments or new constitution.
Ito nga po, so in my,
Yan, yung mga question.
I created the question,
Series of questions.
and then below the question are the amendments that the question is referring to. So I split the economic question and I split the political structure and form question. So under the political, under both there's a series of amendments. Dahil yung economic series of amendments din yun eh. But you could also ask separately each sector, do you agree? Mining, do you agree? Media, do you agree? You could split it that way. And may specific ano lang, people can decide. Or you can just say, do you agree? All or nothing. Whether it's how you frame the question. And that will be debated, I guess, in committee and
Sa economic provisions, just take note na hindi natin binubuksan yung ekonomiya. Sinasabi lang natin na nasa Kongreso or Parliament ang discretion on protection. Dapat wala dun yung 60-40. If we want to maintain 60-40, it should be the legislature that does it and not the Constitution. So, yan yung ano. So, baka sabihin ng mga tao, binubuksan yung ekonomiya. Hindi. Nilipat lang sa ano, sa legislature yung economic provision.
Pero klaro ba yun na pwedeng series of amendments in line with a specific proposition?
When you say there was already a proposal, okay, the Congress already agreed on what will be amended, okay, then you will go to the people, series of...
As one package po, to get to, let's say, federalism, parliamentary.
Kasi kung amendments talagang, ano yan, isa-isayin mo yan, hindi siya pwedeng package. Kunyari, you want to amend section 1, there must be one question for that. Kasi mamaya, okay, we are only available to section 1, hindi kami available sa 2 and 3. Hindi pwedeng mag-package ka ng gawin. Mag-isa yun.
But that will still be faster than
Revision po talaga.
Each amendment will be proposed.
Mag-structure revision. Remember yung kay Lambino. Kay Lambino, ginamit nila is through initiative. Hindi nila tinanong doon sa tanong sa pinapirmahan kung what is being amended, di ba? Pinapirma lang.
Pero ito po, pwede niyong no, that's my question to you as the legal. Is it feasible?
The thing is, yes, if you will pose this question to the people, then you need an enabler. Yes, because you will be appropriating money and then the Comelec will implement it. The Comelec will ask the people these questions and famous questions. And I'm not sure if it will be duplicitous kasi national election yan. So much magkuha na lang na ng o kaya ano, because we will be spending money. Because after the referendum, sabi nila yes or no, sabi ng mga kongreso, ay ng mga tao, ay no, sayang yung referendum. Might as well na you proceed na to propose amendment or revision.